Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to Midwest Test Fishing. Today I've got some hacks to share with you when it comes to rigging up your soft plastic lures. So make sure you watch the entire video so you save as much money as you can with these tips and tricks. Now when I first started fishing, I had a very hard time rigging up soft plastic lures. For some reason, I just couldn't get it right, and this led to two problems. It would cause my baits to run wonky in the water, leading to no fish. And it also led to my baits getting ripped up and destroyed by the constant rigging and re-rigging and re-rigging. So I was losing out on fish and money by ripping up my soft plastics. If you're like me right now, just starting out, having troubles rigging up your soft plastic lures, this video is for you. We are first going to look at soft plastic swim baits. The first tip is for jig heads with the line tie right on top of the ball head. If the line tie isn't, then it's not going to be correct, so make sure that you're using the right jig head. With this tip, I will run the swim bait onto the jig head just past the barb. Once it's there, I will stop it and I will punch a hole into the back of the swim bait with that eye of the jig head. This hole will mark the exact spot for the hook to come out for the swim bait to be lined up perfectly. This will lead your swim baits to running straight in the water and catching loads of fish on them. For hack number 2, we are going to be looking at Texas rigging. The Texas rig is easy to screw up, but with this tip, you'll have no problems. Take your bait and slide it onto your extra wide gap hook just right before it starts to bend. Pop it out and slide it up the hook. You'll put it over the hook eye. An important note is to tie on your hook before you put your bait on, otherwise that eye is going to be covered up and you won't be able to tie your hook on. Line up your hook so that it's flush with your bait. Pinch right behind where that hook bend is, and that will mark the spot where your hook will go through. So you'll pull the bait forward right where that hook needs to go through. You can then push it forward and skin hook it to make it completely weedless. Now, you aren't likely to get these rigs perfectly the first time. It takes time and it takes practice. The third tip that I have for practicing with your rigs is use cheap lures that are more durable. The perfect example is these Creme soft plastic stick baits. These are my #1 option for any beginner practicing Texas rigging. These baits are super cheap. You can get a pack like this for $1 at Walmart, and they're super durable, so you can use the same one to master your Texas rigging. Now the third rig that we'll talk about is the Ned rig, and specifically using Z-Man soft plastics. Z-Man soft plastics are amazing baits with their high durability and stretch, but this can also become super frustrating when you're rigging these up and taking them off. Because of their stretch, it can be a nightmare trying to take these off and straighten them up. Just like when I'm Texas rigging, I will line up the bait on the hook and put my thumb right at the bend of that hook. That's going to mark where that hook needs to come out. I will then use the line on the side of the bait as a guide to make sure that I'm sticking my hook straight through the bait and out of that hole for a perfect Ned rig presentation. Now, one of the most frustrating problems with the Ned rig is the exposed hook that leads to a lot of snags and a lot of Ned rigs lost. You can buy weedless Ned heads, but there is also a different option that most anglers aren't taking the advantage of, and that is using these Finesse Tickler Z's. These are just like normal Ned rig baits, but they have got super stretchy tentacles on the end. I'll take my Ned rig hook and I will stick it up the bottom of the bait and poke it out. This has the tentacles on the bottom and the bare end sticking up. I'll then take a tentacle and I will poke it past the barb of the hook, making it completely weedless. Now, if you don't have these Tickler Z's, you can use a standard Elastec Ned rig and you can just cut the ends to make your own tentacles. Before we get into these last few tips, if you're enjoying this content, hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up so you don't miss other fishing hack videos. Now our last tips have to do with the Wacky Rig. Many anglers use O-rings to keep their Wacky Rigs on their hooks, but there are some easier ways to accomplish the same effect with household items. The first way is to take an old pen with a spring in it. You'll unscrew the pen cap and remove that spring. Pull out that spring and twist it into the center of your stick bait. You can then run your hook through that spring and it will keep that bait from flying off. If you don't want to go through pens, you can take a zip tie and tie it around your stick bait. Go ahead and cut that tail end off and hook right underneath. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I hope you learned some tips and tricks that'll save you money when rigging up soft plastics. If you have any of your own tips and tricks, go ahead and leave them down below in the comments. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the next one.